Today, we're going to be critiquing your mixes. These users posted their songs to Reddit looking for feedback. We're going to take a listen to them today and work through this together. I'll give you my thoughts on it, and it'll help you in your mixes. So let's go. Yo, what's good, guys? Inswain with Inswain Audio. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and stick around because I drop videos every single day. You don't want to miss these gems. Anyways, let's just get right into it. So I got two mixes here. We'll play the first one. All right, so I really like how the drums were filtered in the beginning. You're withheld of that information, you want it, and then you get that weird riser that's way louder and abrasive, and then you get the full frequency spectrum of the drums in the mix. Super great transition. I've talked about that trick before on this channel where you withhold some information, in this case frequency information, then you expand it and boom, it explodes, and now it makes it feel bigger when it does drop. Check this part out again. Now everything's more bright and it's got more weight to it, and it feels good to finally be here in this part of the mix, and now you're enjoying this more, so that's awesome. So everything is good and balanced, but I would say it's almost like too perfect. Like on the drums, they're but slightly robotic. And I get it. That's, you know, what we're working with and that's the style, but I almost want something to stand out. Maybe turn the snare up more, make it a little brighter, maybe even a little bit harsh, like break a little bit of the rules here, make something stick out and grab my attention in the drums specifically, because the guitars are already doing that. I just want one thing from the drums to kind of just drive that rhythm. Not much though, it's almost there in my opinion. The drums are really, really close. Maybe some distortion, saturation to gritty them up. Just something to mess them up a little bit. Let's listen to a different section.
Escape.
Something here is really woofy. I don't know if it's like the bass guitar, the kick, or like a tom, or maybe even the room reverb on the drums or something, but something's really woofy, the sustain of it. Like you can hear. It's like starts here and carries out. It's like doom doom. A little bit too woofy. We'll find it. Yeah, right around here, around 65 hertz. Maybe like a little cut there on, I don't know if it's some part of the drums or what. Just a little dip there, nothing too crazy, because I like the weight that it's adding for sure. It's just a little bit too woofy on the sustain. So maybe it's the reverb, or maybe just do like a multi-band compressor or something for the sustain, but something like this. Like. Now it's just so much more tighter than this. Just a few dBs around there, and you know, with the mix you'd be able to get right to the source instead of me doing it on the whole mix. But just a little bit of there around that 65 hertz-ish range. It's a little bit woofy for me, but don't go too crazy because I do like the sound. Yeah, like it sounds like the toms are woofy. The reverb on them, you can hear that here. So maybe it's just the reverb of the toms, or I don't know if it was like a plug-in reverb or how it was recorded or whatever, but that sustain of the toms is a little woofy. So if it's a reverb you put on, do that cut just on the reverb, so you can leave the tom sound, like the hit of the tom, you can leave that natural how it is, and then just take out a little bit of the woofiness in the reverb. Maybe even just do like a high pass on the reverb up to like 70 or something. But otherwise, sounds really good, nice and balanced. Just make it a little bit more gritty on the drums or something. Just make something stand out a little more. It's nice and balanced, but I want it to be a little bit less balanced, honestly. Catch my attention, make it have some more attitude. This song wants to have attitude, right? I think we'd all agree with that. But yeah, really great mix. I think the last 5% here is just some automation. All right, moving on to our second mix here. Let's check this out. Let's just do it from the top.
The seraph and the serpent both are dead.
I really like the vocal and the reverb. I like the compression or the upfrontness of the vocal, how you can hear like the syllables clicking. I like that sound. Like when she says the word there's like a click to it. Listen.
The seraph and the serpent.
And the serpent. Right. It's like, and there's like a click. I always love those type of artifacts and vocals. They make them feel super intimate and right in your face. And most people probably wouldn't like it, but I loved it. Like, and the you can hear all the syllables clicking. It adds a rhythm to it and almost like a pop sheen to it that I really like. But there's almost like an echo or a whispering or something. Yeah, I think it's like a whisper layer. I don't know what that is, but it's almost distracting because of the brightness of it and how it's like bouncing through the stereo spectrum. Maybe make it more mono, or just remove some top end so that we don't hear that.
So I burned a hole in the back of my head.
Yeah, it gets really distracting here. And then I can hear that automation right up. Right there, there's like a big jump.
What's the point of pins when the cycle just goes on?
So, you know, you're automating up everything, but it feels like, relatively speaking, the vocal doesn't get as much of a push as everything else. Feels like the vocal is kind of staying flat and then everything else is going up. At least that's how it sounds. So you might want to ride the vocal a little bit more. I get you don't want to just compress everything and balance it that way because of the genre and the style. So you're going to have to really rely on automation here.
Self to wash your feet, but if I'm not me, then who am I at all?
Yeah, because as it starts to get more sparse in the arrangement, the vocal feels good. But then as it gets more dense, I feel like the vocal's a little buried. So you can automate the volume. You can do like some saturation automation or some compression automation, or even do like some parallel saturation or parallel compression, and then ride the fader of that parallel send to get more forwardness and body in those parts so you don't have to actually turn the vocal up. There's a lot of ways you could do it, and you know, it's just a style thing and what works the best, but those are a few ways that I like to do for situations like this where it's really dynamic and we want our vocal to stay relative to everything else. If everything else is going up and down, the vocal's going to have to go up and down with it in one way or another. Okay, drums are really dark and kind of small. I kind of like it though. I usually don't, but I see what you're going for. But I think that the snare in particular could use a little bit of brightness, not much. I like that dark sound here in this case. I usually don't though, but just a little bit more. Because the snare's almost sounding like it's buried at some parts, and that's because of its darkness, which once again, I get the vibe and the feel, it adds to it, but just a little bit more to cut through. The cymbal sounds, the clickety of the hi-hat or the ride cymbal or whatever, it's really quick, and I like that. I don't know if you did that with compression, you know, shaping the envelope, but I really, really like that. Like in this section right here, the balance is so perfect.
Photographs on this blank safe blanket, statement of a guy. Some mud pots glaces over my eyes from mortality to pins of my guys. Self-defense nation and up like myself with this can't live on air.
But then, you know, in the bigger sections, that snare needs some more upper mids and the vocal needs a little bit more presence too.
My colors sit beneath the...
Okay, let's check. Yeah, here's that whispering sound. And it sounds like it's too similar mixed to the lead vocal. How I was saying at the beginning, that lead vocal, that clickiness of the syllables that puts it in your face. I like that on the lead vocal, but these whispers, we want them in the background, and things don't sound like they're in the background if you have that clear intelligibility. So you need to reduce the intelligibility here, I think, by probably just removing some of the higher frequencies, or maybe doing like some fast attack compression or like a de-esser or something, just to make them sound like they're in the background. Because right now they sound really low and whispery, like they're far away, but then we hear the intimacy of the vocal, so it sounds like it's right in our ear, and that's a contrast that we probably don't want, and they're distracting. especially because they're panned all around. So I think just reduce some of the intelligibility of the background vocal, to be clear. Yeah, okay. And then we got a dense section here. Let's check this out.
Your eyes reflect from shattered disco balls. Mirror on the wall, I'm begging. Who am I at all?
Yeah, you can hear the vocal is like almost good here, and then once everything fully kicks in, it's just gone.
Disco balls. Mirror on the wall, I'm begging. Who am I at all? I am not mad.
So yeah, just automate the vocal a little bit, ride it throughout the song. It'll take a little bit, but that's gonna be that last 5% that pushes you across the finish line. Once again, just like the first one, they're both right there. It's just a little bit of automation to either balance things out, or in the case of the first mix, it was too balanced. We want to use some automation to throw some things out of whack to grab the attention. Well, let's listen.
It doesn't matter who I was, 'cause I
Little bit of muddiness in the low mids. I'm not sure if it's from like a bass or the drums or both of them combining, but maybe just a little bit tightening up there, just a little bit, like a dB cut here or something. Might make it a little bit more tighter.
am not mad if no one saw the truth.
Okay.
Karma, karma, take it. So who what they seem.
Yeah, whatever that, like if it's a tom or whatever it is, those low drum hits right here, that's probably what's making it muddy in the other sections. So maybe just dipping out a little bit of the low mids in that drum, even just in those big sections, it's really going to tighten it up. That little bit's going to take you a long way.
So who
Because they sound good in isolation here,
seem.
you know, with that long reverb and sustain on it. But then when in the context of the dense mix, it's all just soup. So just a little bit of cut there.
So who am I at all?
Yeah, really good. And it's kind of funny. It had like the same little problems as the first mix, and they're completely different songs, which I find interesting. But yeah, really good mix. This one could use some automation to make things feel more cohesive, and the previous first mix could use some automation to make things feel less flat and balanced, right? It's almost like they're having the same issue, but on opposite ends of the spectrum. And that's really kind of the takeaway here in like a broad sense is this probably applies to you too, as your mixes are probably fine. They're probably 95% of the way there. The thing that's probably separating you from what you want or what you hear on the radio, quote unquote, industry standard. I hate that saying, but the thing that's separating you from what you want is probably just taking that last, couple minutes to an hour, just spending automating things, either to make things more tight or to make things stand out. Think of automation as like a flashlight or a spotlight on the stage, and you're choosing where to put the attention of the listener. You want it on the vocal, shine the light on the vocal, shine the light on the drums over here, and move it throughout the song. Add some automation to make things not only more cohesive, but also less cohesive to grab attention, which seems like an oxymoron or ironic, but I think you get it. So there you have it, guys. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought. What would you do differently? Do you agree with these changes? What do you think of these mixes? I'd love to hear what you guys think of these mixes, because then we can all learn. Make sure to like and subscribe if you stuck around this long. I'd appreciate it. And if you don't, I'll get y'all tomorrow, man. Inswain with Inswain Audio. Peace.